Hold on. Let me put this down. Let me actually put my mask on so that I'm a part of the solution. There's some sun, so I think I'm going to wear my SPF 1000. Yeah, so as I was leaving, I grabbed the gimbal that I can blame all of you for helping fund, actually. It's interesting, speaking with my folks and some other people recently too, actually, regarding just live streams and how so many people started live streaming basically like 2 years ago. Yeah, pretty much. Because 2 years ago we were in lockdown here in Bangkok, in the Big Mango. Hello, good morning, ET. You're like awesome. You are one of my biggest. Thank you so much. You're the most attentive live stream attender. Hashtag, what's up, man? How are you? How do you say hello in Australian? So there's a little bit of cloud cover behind me. Most things around me are moist. When isn't that the case? Yeah, ET, thank you. That's really cool. I'm in an area that, if you know me, you know I like a lot. Bangkok. But also Lumpini Park specifically. And so to that point, rather than show you my need for a shave, let's do this. And let's all hang out in Lumpini Park. Dude, how much nicer is this video with the gimbal? Oh, I tell you, and here's one of the reasons why I like Lumpini Park. Is behaviors like this. This woman here. Now you probably think, oh yeah, she's feeding the ducks. No, she's feeding very large monitor lizards, which we might see here in a minute. Let me check this out. Yeah, so there's cats for sure, but more importantly, there's very large swimming animals, which I adore. I think these things are awesome. And then there's very large fish that get fed by this. And then there's the quickly swimming. Pretty awesome. Is every cat in Thailand a Siamese cat? Is all yogurt in Greece Greek yogurt? Hey, thanks for the thumbs up. That's cool. I actually don't even know what that does. There are people. So here you go. Mike, why do you walk along? I mean, so, okay, so I'm, let's see, I'm here. So this is what? 2 meters? I'm 2 meters away from a 1 meter sized monitor lizard. These things are friggin' amazing. Okay, now who's gonna make the first joke about the hose? That's what's powering that monitor lizard, is that 1 1/4 inch blue hose of water. It is a long weekend in Bangkok. Sorry, long weekend in Thailand, as many of you would sort of define it, meaning that there's a majority of people that get Monday off as a holiday, and so therefore Friday begins the weekend and Tuesday morning begins the work week next week. So that's kind of cool. I have no ability to determine the quality of this live stream other than in the past when I've been in Lumpini Park. The 5G display has been accurate and allowed me to stream fairly well when I was stationary. And I am walking. Actually, the last time I went live in Lumpini Park was on another phone, and all I had was 4G. And that seemed to work out okay. Now that I'm with 5G, looks fine at the moment. Thank you, Chris. You're not shaking. Yeah, well, that's because of technology. It's got nothing to do with. So here's another. Maybe it's like the blue hoses. Maybe there's Maybe because you know how Sting like would talk about, you know, the dream of the blue turtles. Maybe these monitor lizards dream of the blue hose. Oh, look at my ability to just pan right past this baby, dude. I am Chris. Am I like, okay, you know what? I guess my skills are limited. But I could have zoomed out slower, actually, but I'm lazy. But yeah, I love those things. The other nice thing about Lumpini Park now, and definitely, let's, you know, if I just compare it to like 2 years ago, right? I mean, again, the world is different, right? But there's actual, like, things are open, which is nice. Like, I can just walk through here and, of course, go see. Now, this is a baby monitor lizard. And when I see those things, it kind of reminds me of Jurassic Park and the death and destruction that took place after. The other thing that Blue Hose's gas station for lizards. Smart. Well played, my brother. Okay, so today's Sunday. So does that mean I actually picked, and because I never remember, like I was literally talking to my dad this morning. Both of us were like, wait, what day is it? So I think I'm retired as in the proper Somerville way, because I figured, well, my dad doesn't know what day it is, and I don't know what day it is, so like father, like son. I went over here the other day, actually, and it was nice because there's no people, or less people. I'm in an area of Lumpini Park that is kind of close to the entrance. So I entered just on the other side of the MRT station, if you guys know where I am. And yeah, okay, cool. Now it'll turn. I got it on PF. Before I was on L. So now it'll rotate kind of with my hand. This is a really cool gimbal, with the exception of the fact that it's quite heavy, but that just actually makes it a little bit more robust, a little bit more accurate, and of course, a lot of the, you know, you increase the physical size, you increase the volume of battery that you can shove in this thing, and this thing lasts quite a while, to the point where it's also got like a connector that I can use to charge my phone. So it's like a battery pack too. Now I feel the base of this kind of vibrating and clicking. Do you guys get a clicking or vibrating or banging sound at all in the audio of this? I don't believe it's transmitting through the unit. But so yeah, so see, it's pretty cool because it doesn't take me long to get away from the others, if you're familiar with Lost, the TV show that convinced the world that they liked science fiction without them knowing. The others. In my travels through Lumpini Park, some of the most pleasant times are ones basically right now, after it's rained. And of course it's Bangkok, right? So it rained intensely. Taking the BTS here, the rain was intense, loud, dense enough such that when we would stop at the stations, the sound of the raindrops, aka pellets, hitting the roof was quite loud. So, but yeah, as I was sitting there this morning, I thought, hey, look, and Mazakana, ooh, the Tiger weekend update. Now, I've already learned from my last live stream that when I click on an other app outside of this one, that it stops the stream and basically closes down the live stream. Long time no see indeed. Yeah, thank you for coming by, folks. But this is a great time, provided there's a little bit of breeze so as to sort of distract the possible mosquitoes. Right now I'm having no mosquito interaction, which is nice, but oh, the night's young. Chris Parker made a video yesterday that I just thought was absolutely fantastic. My comment on it was, hey, Thai YouTubers, this is the gold standard example of what a video from a Thai vlogger looks like that gets 10 million views. He was so engaging, and he had the ability to do so many things in there. You know, I mean, the classic marketing, where there's a level of urgency to the purchase. Now I'm sounding sexy without the wind noise. Was there wind noise before? That's weird because there's no wind. Data rate what? Oop, sorry. Hold on, what is this? Oh, data rate dropping rapidly. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's kind of a drag. There's no sort of indicator. I'm just simply using the YouTube app to go live. I didn't use StreamYard, which arguably I probably should have, because then it would give me some degree of indication of data capability. But, I'm just kind of cruising around. I may stop and sit down, but so far it's like the beginning of my walk, and I'm really liking it. Still locked on though. Thank you, Chris. I assume what happens is the video just gets really lousy, but you can like hear the audio, right? And obviously the bandwidth necessary for those two different mediums is probably 10x, right? When viewing 5G, it eats up data. On your end or on mine? I have a plan that gives me 50 gigs of data per month. And last month, and what I do, right, is I sign up for those things, and then I just simply use my phone as I use my phone. I don't try and, like, you know, save data, because, of course, if I get to the point where it's like, oh, I use more data than I should, well, then I just get a different plan. But last month, I believe I used, like, 48 of the 50 gigs of data, so I thought, well, that's kind of cool. It's totally a good morning, Roger. And, Roger, I want to thank you for giving me that recommendation for that other park. I have it saved, and I actually think I have it in my calendar for 2 days from now. And I'm going to take a bolt up there. My phone consumes 3 to 6 gigs a day. Really? What are you doing? Just streaming video? Huh. I don't think I use that much, and I mean, again, I'm home, right? So, like, there's Wi-Fi. But when I'm out and about, which I basically in fact, all last week when I was in Jomtien, you know, I tried using the Wi-Fi in the hotel, but it was lousy. So I said, screw it. I even tethered my laptop to my phone that has 5G, and that was faster. And I watched, I didn't watch a ton of, like, you know, TV, meaning I watched Netflix, like, just to kind of fall asleep. And I probably watched 1, maybe 2 episodes. So that wasn't much. But I think the following morning when I got up, I was like, oh, I wonder how much data I used. And I didn't. 3 to 6 gigs a day. Dude, you're doing some serious stuff. So here's what's interesting, is that Thais are very conscious of following the path. Like, pretty much you're supposed to walk this way, and you'll see most of them, especially on the street, like just walking that way. I would normally go down there, but kind of like there's more of a higher density entrance there, so I'm not going to go there. And I also wanted to walk over here. Now, obviously, I'm near. Let's see, what am I near? Rama. Am I near Rama? I can't remember what road that is on the other side of Lumpini. I don't know if it's. I don't think it's Rama 5. Anyway. Silom is, let's see, where's the BTS? Over there, I think. But yeah, this is, if I recall, this is the street that's sort of the loudest on the side of Lumpini Park. But we are going to make use of, we are going to make use of the gimbal and hobble on by the lake here, which is really nice. I will say I'm a little disappointed in, like, the upkeep that's going on here. This is one of these, I guess you call them an aerator. Basically, they're just like a moving paddle, right? That I believe brings oxygen into the water. I'm not quite sure. But watching vlog all over the world, at least 10 hours. Oh, I get it. Yeah, I guess that could be it, right? And especially if you watch vloggers that, like, actually do it, then they're probably streaming in 4K. I honestly don't even think I've ever turned on the 4K setting on any of my devices, my GoPro. And let's face it, my GoPro Hero, what do I have? Do I have a 9 or an 8? I think I have a Hero 9 Black, you know, because I'm racist. And I think that it can do 5K, maybe. So totally, dude. I completely agree. I'm a 720 guy. No, maybe not. Maybe I'm a 1080p. I can't remember. But I know that it's, you know, it's not my channel to provide 4K. That is for people who, you know, like Patty Doyle, right? I mean, that guy makes amazing videos. And I wouldn't call him a friend. I'm definitely honored to call him an acquaintance who I have a lot of respect for. I've got to meet him. And I've got to meet him because Dana like set up a meet, and Patty was coming into town, and we met him when he was over on when he was over at the Bangkok train station, and had like coffee with him in the morning before he hopped on the train to begin his trek down south. And it's funny, I remember watching him, and he had like, you know, 1,000 subs or something. I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of cool, and I subbed to him, and he wasn't doing the trip yet. He was just cruising around. And then Dana and I are doing Bangkok Strange, and this guy Patty Doyle comes on, and I'm like, Dana, you should check out this guy Patty Doyle. He's sitting around with his sack of potatoes in his underpants. And we just sort of joked around, and so yeah, well, the guy's super talented. You know what I love about the crows here? I swear the crows and the monitor lizards are in competition for how fast and how big they can get. And I think that there is a hierarchy in crow land, because some of these crows are so big. I mean, they look like gangsters. I feel like I should just be like feeling a vibration in the ground as they like hop down the road, because they're like, oh no, I have earned so much respect. I'm not even going to use these wings, baby. I'm just going to hop down the street, and all the other birds are going to freak out. This is a favorite area of mine over here, and an area where I've done several live streams. There was a guy who used to watch my live streams regularly. I also used to do live streams regularly, so I get that. But there was a guy who used to watch my live streams regularly from New York City, and every time I would come to Lumpini Park, he would be like, I'll give you like $20 to go mount a monitor lizard. There's a monitor lizard right there. I don't know, you can't see because unfortunately the angle that the light hits the water doesn't allow the camera to sort of get into the vision, but I can see through there, and I can see that he is very large. 1080p is fine for the bulk of, yeah, absolutely. Local commuters, I completely agree. Yeah, this is a really, really happy spot of mine. I got to, I'll tell you, one of the coolest times is when I get to meet anyone new who's actually normal, and then you know, it's an even better, it's even more benefit when they're cool, not just normal. And that was the case when I met Roger McGee. If you guys have been on any sort of regular live stream channels, you've likely seen Roger McGee show up as a viewer, as a commenter, as a moderator. And so I'm finishing up my video the other day on Jumtien Beach, and up comes this guy as I'm ending it, and he says, if you're not living the dream, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, aha! I won't fall in Chris's pond. Wait, wasn't that at Benjikiti Park? I thought that's where he did his video. Maybe you're talking about something else. I did recall his reference in his recent video to like the $10 challenge or something, and I guess that was when he was potentially going to fall in the river. So maybe that is what you're talking about. Now this isn't super common, and I'm actually very interested in this behavior with it shaking its head as it's doing in the jittery way. Are they like, is he I've always seen him move very, very smoothly. But you see how he's jerking his head like that? I've never seen that. I've never seen a lizard jerking like that. If you've just joined the broadcast, that's normally what I talk about. But is that a communication paradigm of some kind with the monitor lizard? Because usually they move nice and smooth, like this person over there. Anyway, I just saw a couple long comments that I missed, so hold on. Nobody cares. I know nobody cares. What goes on in here? We have this door. Nobody gets in until I'm really sure. Don't creep up behind me. You know where to find me. I'm always around. Turns out if you need. Tuesday's supposed to be high of 85. Well, any day that ends in Y is a low of 85 here in Bangkok, right? National Buddhism headquarters located. Oh, Roger, I'm stoked. I believe 7 different areas with Buddhism. So cool. Fair shake of the lizard, indeed. See, so now when you guys are like hanging out with your buddies and you're like, hey, dude, hold on, I'm gonna go shake the lizard. You can be like, wait, you're going to Lumpini Park? That's a hell of a commute, bro. We're like literally just having a burger here. Or not. Okay, so I don't know what song that was. Soy Mafia, but I assume that's what you were quoting. If not, then you're quite the poet that is obviously inebriated. Just kidding. It's interesting. I'm still at the point where there are some things in Thailand that are like the novelty has not worn off. And of course, monitor lizards are one of those things. And as I watch my buddy Robbie do videos. Now, Robbie is a newbie here. It's not his first trip, but he's still discovering new things like, oh my God, can you believe that can you believe that a sung tao is only 30 cents? And that's just actually a really silly example. But he did the merit process with his Thai girlfriend at a local, I was going to say prayer house, but that's not right. Spirit house, I believe. You know, like the ones that they install in pretty much like every big building, every office, every condo, right? So I believe he went down to the Spirit house in his condo and they gave an offering and, you know, she opened up like 2 bottles of soda and stuff and put them there and then prayed. And I remember the first time I did something like that, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Which is weird, right? Because I can tell you, like the first time I went to, I don't even know if it was a Catholic church or Protestant church or whatever in the US, I was like, oh boy, I can't wait to get out of here and go do something cool versus be here where I just judge that is not being cool. But for some reason, the whole Buddhism thing, many of the ceremonies they engage in, I like a lot. And I will tell you that occasionally I think to myself, you know, the reason you like that so much is because you don't know what the hell they're doing. And because everything's in Thai. And you have no idea that they're chanting, kill the white man, kill the white man, kill, which I doubt they are, but there's a fairly large one. How you doing there, large Marge? Oh, sure. Go away the minute I start giving you some attention. So I see these things and they still they interest me. They make me smile. They make me nod my head and say, oh yeah, why Thailand? I posted something on Facebook yesterday. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but it was just sort of like, okay, so if all of a sudden, or if not all of a sudden, if the case was the fact that living in Thailand cost the same amount as living in San Diego, would I be here? And my immediate response was, no, absolutely not. Because again, you know, there's some things here that, you know, even though that like the taxes are low and all that sort of thing, there's infrastructure things that are better, but then there are others that are really worse. And, you know, but what I pay, because living in San Diego pretty much cost me about 3 times what it cost me to live here. And by that, I mean in Thailand, not just in Bangkok, because of course in Bangkok, it's kind of like having the discussion with someone who lives in New York City. And hey, do you have a car? No, of course I don't have a car. I live in New York City, right? Of course I don't need a car. I live in Bangkok. But you haven't opened Facebook in a week. Did I miss anything? Doubtful. You know, I follow various people, right, on YouTube and things. And one of the things that sort of popped up recently is make sure you use the community tab, which, quite frankly, was the reason I wanted to get to 1,000 subscribers so my channel could get the community tab so I could have an additional piece of, or additional paradigm to communicate with you guys. and I was psyched when that happened. I mean, a year ago, more than a year ago, 2 years ago, I was very committed to producing YouTube content, certainly via live streams. And, part of that was the fact that 2 years ago today, right, I don't believe that we were allowed to leave our homes here in Thailand. And many of you had the same thing happen to you. So it was like, all right, well, I can order a mixer and microphone online and Lazada will show up, and all of a sudden I've got a Stu studio. So me and Phil Collins can basically do a live stream. I want to check this thing out because I have either not been there in a while or I've never been there. Facebook, Chris, lots of selling and buying. More rubbish, yeah. Absolutely. So I post on there, but the community tab comment from this guy who is a very successful YouTuber, and he's at the point where he's a successful YouTuber, and he gives other people advice on how to be successful YouTubers. And of course they believe him because he's a successful YouTuber, I guess, telling people how to be successful YouTubers. And he's like, yeah, you really should make use of the community tab. We've done so many things on there, and I remember your first laptop streams. Oh boy, man. Yeah. How bad were those? Well, this is kind of neat. So I assume what happens, obviously it's a sundial of sorts, but I'm trying to think. So the sun is pretty much, I'm going to move the camera so the sun is basically directly behind me. So the screen on the camera is basically where the sun is coming from. And because of that, this bar here, the shadow will go down to the time, but of course the sun is not bright enough. But I will tell you that it is approximately, I think it's approximately 9 o'clock. So that's kind of where it would be. Maybe it's 10. No, I think it's closer to like 9:30. I love things like this. I remember the first time my dad was, showed me like how to make a sundial kind of thing. And, you put a stick and then you basically look at your watch and you put little rocks in the ground as the sun goes by every hour. And then you come back the following day, and I'll be damned if every time an hour goes by, the sun wasn't casting a shadow on that stick through the rock that I labeled 10 and then 9 and then 12. I was like, oh my God, my dad is brilliant, which, I mean, I may be biased, but he is actually. You only notice that I'm bald. Yeah, that's good. You came in at the right time. You didn't see me before when I was absolutely struggling with my freaking vanity, and amidst the recommendations of my now wife saying, you should probably shave that off, meaning my animal that was living on top of my head rent-free that I would ink up every month or so. And I don't know if you guys have, I'm sure you've had moments like this in your life. The moment that I was reflecting on is about 10 minutes after I'm leaving the barber back home, and they have just shaved off all of my hair and I'm completely bald. And then of course they straight razored it. So it was like full on, like super smooth, baby skin smooth is my head. And so naturally I take a selfie and send it to Gracie. First thing she says, oh my God, you look so much younger. I thought, oh my God, I should have done this years ago. Because as far as vanity goes, right? I mean, who doesn't like to look younger? Unless of course you're 20 and you can't buy liquor. Then you want to look older. Bald is beautiful. Remember Kojak? I do remember Kojak, absolutely. Mike W. shave of your head might what? Be grateful at least. Yeah, so that got that going for me, right? At least I've got one, Aztec. Yeah, Telly Savalas. I remember that, interestingly enough, I used to DJ in a nightclub in San Diego called Telly's. And they would give out, I didn't realize that this was his signature. I thought I watched the show, but I guess I never really noticed it. They would give out Tootsie Roll Pops. Apparently, like, Telly Savalas loved having Tootsie Roll Pops. And so, yeah, I used to DJ at a place called Telly's, which was Telly Savalas's nightclub. The DJ booth was gigantic, but it was far too away from the people. So when they literally came up to make requests, I had to like move to the side away from the turntables. That gives you an idea of when it was. And mixing console, and I had to like open up a door to the left that led out to the dance floor. And I was like, well, this is ridiculous. And had I worked there longer, I would have just hung a clipboard over the side of the front of the DJ booth and with a crayon and been like, just write down your requests. Or if you're attractive, perhaps I should allow you to come up here so I can judge you. Which of course is what we DJs do. Oh, sure, we play music. You probably can't tell in the distance, but that is what's referred to as the Mahanakan, which if you don't know, is my favorite building. It looks like basically a twisted building that they've done incorrectly, but I really friggin' dig it. And the funny thing about it being called the Mahanakan was, just, if you don't know, the name of Bangkok is Krungthep Mahanakan. In fact, that's the shorter version of it. Bangkok is the shortest version in English. And then Krungthep Mahanakan is the other one. But the actual name of Bangkok is like 17 words long. It's quite entertaining. Hold on, I'm just hitting the... of those popsicles, that's always stick in his mouth. Bum. Mahanakan is awesome. Yeah, I dig it a lot. We stay right there in the area most times, usually at the W on the corner there. The W is actually really, really nice there. I love the smell of W's. I love how they have an aroma that is one of their signatures, not the least of which, of course, is good customer service. But yeah, they were a part of Starwood for the longest time, and now, of course, part of Marriott Bonvoy. So, as it turns out, I'm going to be forced, twist my arm. I'm going to be forced to stay at a W coming up. So maybe I'll do a staycation and we'll stay there. That'd be kind of cool. Thanks for the suggestion, buddy. I've never been in the Mahanakan building and do want to go up there. I asked Gracie about it, but unfortunately at the time, she was a little bit distracted by the cost of going up in the elevator, which I believe is like about $25 US to go up to the rooftop deck or the lookout point or the glass floor or whatever's on the top. And so I was, yeah, I mean, it's, US prices, right? But that was distracting for her. I did one of my first live streams here, actually, from right over there. I believe I had just gotten my new laptop. And here's the other thing that I also really, really, really love about Lumpini Park is when I'm in an area like this, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been here before, right? But I don't really know where I am. Does that ever happen to you? Like I can still get lost in Lumpini Park. I freaking love that. Oh, and so I want to do this because this is one of these, 2 years ago, probably even 2 months ago, all these buildings were, closed up and that sort of thing. Now, I'm not saying it's open right now, but it certainly isn't boarded up. So I want to go see what sort of what happens over here at the Children's Library. I assume it's open. You would think during the day on a Sunday that they would open it and allow parents and kids to cruise over here. Okay, so you hear that noise? Bum, 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 bum. I believe that's some kind of bird or animal, but I don't know what it is. I've never seen one. I've never seen what it is, what makes that noise. This is a cool building, right? The HSBC Lumpini Park Children's Library. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Bank of China. And Winnie the Pooh were those 4 books in there, if you couldn't see it. I'm a big fan of Winnie the Pooh. I don't know if you guys have ever read the little storybook, The Tao of Pooh. And then there's a follow-up to it, The Day of Piglet. But The Tao of Pooh is one of those sort of first tastes of Buddhism. Now, that's not a completely accurate statement, but we'll put it in air quotes, and you guys will probably understand what I mean when I say that. But it's sort of the feeling of, live in the moment, be kind, good karma, that sort of thing. So the Tao of Pooh. How to find enlightenment by being Winnie the Pooh. So I've been here, right, earlier today. I came from over there. And I actually, as I was walking across that grass, I didn't realize that I had come from over there. I apologize. I didn't realize that I'd come from over there. This is one of sort of the main roads too. And so all the way down there is the entrance for, well, basically if you go a little bit, so that's actually the original sort of main entrance. They have it all blocked off. Sealoam Road is down that way. And then like sort of up above is the BTS. But I love that entrance. And then off to the left is the MRT. And out of sheer laziness, I always sort of get out. I come here via BTS, and then I take the, I have to take the Sealoam line 2 stops from Siam. And then from there, I walk down to the MRT, and I simply use the MRT to get underneath the roadway to come over here, and then I just pop up right at the entrance to Lumpini Park. I first learned that Thailand plays their national anthem at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day in fairly public areas. And I learned that by being here, and I believe I was here one day at like 6 p.m. And like, for example, all these people that are walking, they stop, right? And then there's loudspeakers that play the national anthem. People stop and they just sort of look around and they pause, and some of them will close their eyes. Others will pray. Others will just sort of stand in place and talk to their friend. Most people, like 95% of the people, will be quiet during that time. And they'll listen to the national anthem, which is not long. And then the national anthem ends and they move on with their day. 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. So about a week and a half ago, I'm here at 8 a.m. I got here at like 7:30. And 8 a.m. comes and 8 a.m. goes. And no national anthem. And I actually kind of like it. I like the national anthem. I like that people pause. I've been on the BTS at 6 p.m. and you're walking like down the platform on the stairs. And all of a sudden, everyone in front of me stops. Yeah, there's no one in front of them. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then I hear the national anthem come on. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, that's a pleasurable way of commuting. No matter how much of a hurry you're in at 6 p.m. to get home, national anthem comes on, you stop in place. So anyway, so 8 a.m. the speakers don't blast the national anthem. And I thought, well, who do I know that's, intelligent and maybe could answer this question for why they didn't play it? So I sent a message to Jib, who many of you know because you watch Dana and her on Saturdays, and I think Wednesdays he goes live. Anyway, I mean, he makes videos with his wife all the time, but so I said, hey, so is this like a new thing? Like they're not doing it, or is it that they're not doing it on weekends, or what was it? And her response was, well, maybe the speakers are broken. I said, okay, that's fair. That could be, and then they'll probably fix that in short order. I messaged another one of my friends who's Thai, who's arguably, you would probably refer to him, this is a gross generalization, but at the end of the day, you would refer to him as a Haiso Thai. He's one of the very wealthy Thai Indian families. And so I said, hey, Ace, I said, so why is this? And his response was similar. And, one of the possibilities is broken speakers. But he also said, well, there's a lot of change that's going on in the country now. And so, not everyone is pro-monarchy. He said that could be a reason. Maybe there was a debate and the decision was, hey, so in public parks, let's not do the national anthem thing. And again, it's not the King's anthem, right? So the King's anthem is what plays when you're in the movies. And I like that too. And I love the fact that everyone stands up, and I do it. And the first time I saw it, I thought, this is awesome. And then ever since then, I go to the movies and I get excited to be able to do that. It makes me feel a part of. It's a neat ceremony, and I totally agree with it, but that's just me. So here's another this is the other reason why I came over here, actually. Last time I came over here, there were many of them. Pooh is banned in China. It isn't in San Francisco. They want to replace Bangkok, because that's very popular songs. One Night in Bangkok, Red Light Country. Look, hey, Jay, good to see you, man. I'm sorry, I missed these comments, you guys. Don't hang out at Peck's Bar near Florida Street, San Diego. You don't hang out at Peck's Bar, Florida Street. That's I know exactly where that is. Actually, it's over. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's a gay bar, right? Usually stay across the river from those days. Okay, Aztec, I get it. They want to replace Bangkok because that's a very popular. Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of. I'm not going to say that song is outlawed here, like like the movie The King and I, right? But am I zoomed in or zoomed out? There we go. Okay. But yeah, most people don't particularly like it. I mean, BKK.FM plays it every day at 8 o'clock. It's how we start off the 80s at 8 with One Night in Bangkok. But I'm guessing the royal family has yet to start streaming BKK.FM. Shame on them. If they only knew the joy with which their life could be increased by streaming BKK.FM, tell your friends. Have you guys been watching Walking in My Shoes? My buddy Robbie, his new channel. It's a different flavor for sure. And as I mentioned before, if you're a someone who's frequented Thailand, then you would probably watch it and be like, stuck in Florida. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. Let me, there we go. Good. Hey, buddy. Aloha. Obviously, I could walk there on the sidewalk where it's dry, but for some reason, I really prefer to walk here and get my shoes wet that I just spent about 25 minutes cleaning the other day, and of course then spent 3 hours having them dry, 4 hours probably having them dry out on the balcony. But there's something about walking in wet grass. There's a lot of things that I find enjoyable that I think a lot of people look at that and be like, what? It's just like, well, I like it. I like energetic rain with lightning and thunder, and that does not particularly please Gracie, which I understand, certainly after staying in our house, and then after the minute I leave the house about a week later, the silly thing floods with like 8 feet, 2 meters, 2.5 meters of water. Jesus. What a bummer that was. What have you been up to, Stock? You guys who I've seen on my channel that I see on other people's channels and that sort of thing, or maybe I don't anymore. I mean, I know Jeremy's not doing any live streams anymore. And I think I would see you guys over there on his, but watching the Gathering of Nations powwow just stopped gather. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna head over the bridge here. Throw caution to the wind. It's funny, that little piece of wooden bridge, the one that I'm walking on right now, is just like seriously vibrated. Maybe not the greatest construction. But some of you have or are planning on coming here, right? And again, I don't watch the news, and I was for a while. And in fact, Chris knows that when I was in the Philippines, the thing that sort of, really piqued my interest and even caused me some, self-induced, but nonetheless caused me some stress, was the whole Ukraine-Russia nonsense. And I haven't paid attention to that at all. It was only this morning when I was listening to the top of the hour news over on KISS that realized that the statement they made was, we're now in the 3rd month of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Let's go up here and see what it sounds like when I'm on stage trying to project to the back row. BKK.FM, #awesome sauce brah. Indeed. Well, if you listen to it now, I was listening to it on the way here and I'm like, oh shit, I know exactly what I made a mistake yesterday, and I tried to increase the automation capabilities, and in doing so, sadly what it did is it scanned a large number of songs and changed the cue points, which basically means that a lot of the songs are playing all the way to the end until there's dead air and then the next song plays, which is so freaking obnoxious. Not radio, and not the tight level of radio production that I want to put forth, but nonetheless, I made that mistake. So this is sort of interesting, and I don't think you're going to be able to hear this from here, But what, of course, is very interesting is that my voice right now is really just here, and not a lot of it is going out there, I don't think. And here, there's not a whole lot of echoing. It's a little bit, I can hear myself a little bit. And then, wait, what? What in the world is this? You set up an FM website? When did this happen? Oh, hey, Aztec, what's going on? When is your last good Cleos with powdered chili? I'm not sure I know. I've been helping run a channel called FM for like 12 to 14 months, robbed me of my YouTube time. No, I remember, Aztec. I remember when you mentioned that you were doing some sort of podcast or FM station or whatever, and that you were going to message me about it, but I'm sure you just got busy. So I knew you were doing something of that flavor. But yeah, dude, I've been in radio since I was 14. My mom had to drive me to the station, and because I didn't have my license, but I had my FCC license because you needed to get one back then. And yeah, so I'm a radio guy, and started BKK.FM like, when did I start that, Chris? 2020? I think I registered the domain in like March of 2020, and then I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? And then it sat for like 3 or 4 months. And then I said, all right, well, I'm just going to throw an automation system on it. I'm going to put my songs up there. And then I contracted with a guy who's got a voice. We call him Dr. 17 Testicles because his voice is so incredibly deep. So he does the sweepers and liners for me. So, and but I also started another few other projects. There's another one that I'm doing, basically resurrecting a really cool rock station from the 80s back in Boston. It's called WCOZ. So I registered WCOZ.FM late 2020. Thanks, buddy. And there is just random, there's literally one sweeper that runs because I got my guy doing WCOZ liners and some bumpers and that sort of thing. But I got just one up there that I threw together. And really all it is just doing automation. So the songs are not really relevant. There's no sort of, there's definitely no imaging to the station. The website is gross, and it's just there to basically allow me to test things. So that's another rock station. But yes, but if you listen to it, you're gonna be like, oh my God, there's no way this guy's been in radio. I mean, it's so loose right now, or at least it was this morning when I was walking here. Now, it may be after 9 o'clock that changes, because I believe what I did is I updated the ID V3 tags, the year, on a bunch of songs from the 80s, because for some reason the IDV3 tags were populated. The year tag was populated with year//year. So in other words, instead of just being 1987, it was like 1987//1987. And I was like, crap, this is, I believe the reason it happens is when I throw the tags in there, saving a file from Audacity that I've edited, I believe that for some reason, when I put 1 year in there, it does year//year, which is basically sort of the unstandardized. So there's the year tag, right? But then there's also the ability to have the year it was released and then the year it was produced. And occasionally those will be a different year. Sort of thing. Like a lot of people think My Sharona came out in 1980, when of course, yes, it became popular in 1980, but in reality, the album came out in late 1979. So it's one of those deals. So I can understand why they would add 2 year fields to the IDV3. I think it's 3.2 standard. So anyway, because of that, I went in and changed them all to have one single year, because that allows my automation system to simply scan through the tracks and find out anything between 1980 and 1989 and then play those during the 80s at 8. Makes sense, right? Well, in doing so, sadly, the cue points on a lot of those files changed. And the end cue out point, went all the way to the end of the MP3 file. And I was like, for the love of God. So it really sounds disappointing to me. And so anyway, it'll sound, and it was funny too, because I didn't know, I was literally like 10 meters from my lobby, and I clicked on tune in and was listening to the station. And I heard the first segue and I was like, okay, whatever, that may be just that one song. And then the next segue and I'm like, oh, I know exactly what I did to cause that issue. So the engineer in me knows how to fix the problem that the engineer in me caused. But yeah, so I started out. So here's what's funny is people are like, oh, did you start out like on the air? And the short answer is yes. But if you know anything about radio in the 80s in the United States, when you were on the air, you had some very technical responsibilities. Like every hour I needed to go to the transmitter and I needed to measure the plate voltage and I needed to measure the current and the power and then do a quick ERP calculation, effective radiated power, which is simply the power coming out of the transmitter minus the loss in the conduit, whether it's coax or whatever, times multiplied by the gain of the antenna. And you needed to do that once an hour, and then you needed to sign the log, and then those logs eventually were, well, early on they were provided to the FCC, and then finally the FCC said, yeah, we don't have warehouses big enough for all these silly logs. So you just simply had to have them on standby. So because of that and my desire for technical stuff, I loved being on the air, but then you also learn some degree of engineering. Now, in today's world, that's no longer the case. If you want to just have a morning show, you don't need to know literally anything about how the technology of radio works, or streaming, or the internet, or whatever. But back then, you had to do both, which was nice because I actually liked the technical part of it and realized early on that unless I'm like doing the morning show in a top 25 market, I'm basically not making enough of a living to buy the cars that I wanted to buy. So I stuck with engineering and then went through an entire career of being chief engineer for a bunch of radio stations. And gratefully, the last basically 20 years of my career, if you consider the first 10 years being between being 14 and 24, I was in the top 25 markets. Actually, early on, I was in market 12, Boston at the time. And then I moved to San Diego and was in that market. And then I was in St. Louis for about 14 months. And I think at the time, I think that was market 26. So I was just kissing the edge of top 25 markets. But now St. Louis is larger. So effectively, I've always been in a top 25 market. So that's been a real joy, a real honor. And any major city in the United States that has 8.5 million people, as does Bangkok, that's still a top 25 market. Yep, still a little dead air at the end, but not obnoxious. Trust me. Your obnoxious and my obnoxious are different. I think you said this before, but I didn't realize .fm was the domain website. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and so here's what's interesting, right? So in the US, obviously, FM is getting less and less relevant, and people are, the goal for radio is like, how the hell do we basically pay people to leave Spotify and come to our FM radio station? That is sort of the overarching discussion in radio right now. And then even once we do that, how do we generate revenue and potentially keep them here so we have a continuously flowing revenue stream? And the short answer is nobody knows yet. Nobody's figured that out. In Thailand, as of about 6 months ago, the NBTC, their FCC, announced, and I mentioned this on another live stream, but I don't think you were here, Aztec, announced that they're no longer going to renew any of the community licenses, which is certainly all of the stations like 91.75 KISS FM Napatea, as an example. 1,500 watts, basically, ERP, 500 watts out of the transmitter. They're no longer going to renew those licenses, and they're going to basically only allocate 1 or 2 broadcast licenses to each province, which really in the United States is the equivalent of the FCC saying, hey, we're going to have 1 FM commercial radio license per state. And people are like, what? So that's how obtuse that is. But nonetheless, that's what they're doing here. And they're going to auction off these new frequencies. And obviously they're going to the highest bidder, which is certainly no community radio station. So because of that, the reason I bring that up is the .fm top level domain has been around for a while. It's a little bit more expensive, certainly, and it's not certainly the cheap cost that you can get a .com, right, for like $2.99 at a lot of places. Will be blowing them out. .co, that sort of thing. You can always get those really cheap. So I figured, okay, well, .fm is going to be the new sort of that's going to be the new FM radio, right? In other words, FM transmitters are being shut off every day, and people are going to streaming, or they're just shutting them off and saying, well, maybe I'll do a podcast. I'll upload something once a week. Good. That means I don't have to bring heliacs and dipoles on the plane, which is a good thing, Chris, because I know that I really, if I was going to do anything with KISS, I'm like, we got to get rid of this piece of shit antenna that they have. Freaking, vertical polarization. I'm like, dude, really? Like, we've got to get circular polarization on this thing. Anyway. Yeah, so no more broadcast. And so basically they gave him 2 years. And so right from today, that's about 18 months from now, all those stations will simply need to be shut off, or you're a private broadcaster, which Thailand doesn't really, they're not a big fan of that. And they put systems in place and have fines such that if a foreigner were to do that, you'd be in big trouble. It's not like cool pirate radio like it was when Christian Slater was making movies about it, right? So anyway, there's only going to be streaming, so that actually makes it a lot easier. But to be fair, it's not like anybody is walking around anywhere near me right now, meaning within 750 miles with an FM radio, like held up to their ear or whatever. They're all walking around with a cell phone. They're all walking around with a smartphone. And if they're streaming music from an app. And hopefully that app is TuneIn and they're listening to bkk.fm, even amidst the silence. But I don't know what time it is right now, but I think it's before 10 o'clock. So basically the songs that are playing right now in the 9 o'clock hour in Bangkok on Sunday, I believe it's still 90s at 9. I may have a specialty show playing right now. I can't remember. But I have a couple of DJs doing various shows for me, like out of Pennsylvania and Australia. Chris knows about the lady from Australia. She wanted my radio assistance coaching her on how to generate revenue, and her show's okay. She's doing a radio show that is only like 48 minutes long. I'm sorry, it's 52 minutes long. So in theory, that's actually really good. It's broken up into 3 sections, and it allows you to ID in the middle of the thing as well as run some spots if you have any local avails. But not many people do. And for the most part, the good news for us radio stations is that like none of the DJs have any fantasy that we're going to pay them for their content, for their show, which is a drag. And so it's difficult for them to make money. But anyway, so my arm has gotten enough exercise for this afternoon. So this morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank all of you guys for coming by. I really appreciate it. Let me make sure I didn't miss any recent, live chat. Any recent comments? Oh, looks like I did miss. Hold on. Oh, yeah, no, I got it. Last one I see is from Chris. All right, awesome. Well, thank you for coming by. It's Mike from LiveMyAssOff.com saying I hope you're living the dream, because if you're not living the dream, then there's a high likelihood that you've been somewhere, that there's been a sundial, and you haven't taken advantage of it and sat at it and watched the sun go by and see this little miracle. Take care, Chris. Love you, brother. Hope you guys are great. Good to see you as well. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.